We write 800-word articles. We get like a paragraph for each thing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So I won't drop any weird comments. All right.
Okay.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. All right. I'll try that again. Is that even running? Doesn't matter. Okay. All right. All right. We're ready. I don't think it matters, does it? Or does it? Okay, and then what I should do when Gerald comes up, we clip it to his.
I'll take care of it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
All
we're
right.
gonna get started.
3, 2. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is JT Dodge. I appreciate you showing up for this press conference. Today, we're going to be on point covering veteran suicide and raising awareness around veteran suicide. Press, please sign in. In summary, suicide rates among veterans increased by nearly 36% between 2001 and 2019, compared to a 30% increase in the general population. So these figures emphasize the critical importance of employing evidence-based prevention strategies to protect Vermont's veterans. Now that we're in 2022, the post-pandemic situation has almost certainly made everything worse when we consider the number of veterans that have attempted suicide, survived it, and those who are currently experiencing struggles and thoughts and have contemplated it. Today, I've invited a few speakers, and I appreciate you attending today. I'm going to introduce our first speaker. We've got 4 speakers, and I'll be the 4th at the end. First, I'd like to introduce Gerald Malloy, who I'm very much honored to introduce to you, a veteran. And please, Gerald Malloy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, JT, and thank you for putting together this great event and an important event. So, my name is Gerald Malloy, and I am seeking to be the next United States Senator here in Vermont, and that's been an honor campaigning the last almost year now at this point. But wanted to say first and foremost, I want to say thank you to all our veterans and all our service members. I greatly appreciate your support, and so do Vermonters and Americans. So thank you very much. Just a little bit about me. I am a veteran from West Point. I served 22 years on active duty, served in the Fulda Gap, a couple of times in Korea, in the Middle East, and then in combat operations in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Iraq in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. I think I have a pretty good idea of the sacrifices that service members and veterans make, and this is important for us to recognize that we have a problem here with veteran suicide and the 22 a day, and it's it's a tragedy. And one of the things I want to do, a few things that I want to do as a U.S. Senator is fully support our veterans. I am a member of the VFW, a member of the American Legion. But I will, if I am fortunate enough to get into be a U.S. Senator, that will be pretty much job one, to support our veterans and service members and make sure they have the best care and the best equipment. Our military is the best military in the world, and I will look to support that. A few things specifically. I would look to be on the Veterans Affairs Committee. I've talked about some of the committees I'd be interested in being part of. That would be one of them. I would look, I think our Veterans Administration does a fantastic job, but there may be some room to improve some of the processes there and improve some of the funding so we can have those counselors readily available for our service members once they leave the service. And I would actually look to work with our military some. I know kind of a long story, but way back, I spent 5 years at Fort Bragg, and one day my roommate came I wanted to say here today, JT, thank you for putting this together. And of course, there's an event going on outside, and we're going to go join that here in a couple minutes. But it's important to provide the services for our veterans so that we can reduce that number, from 22 a day right down to 0, and that's where it should be. And that's one of the things I'll look to support different programs for that as a U.S. Senator. I don't think I have much more to say other than may the 14 stars shine bright. Veterans and service members, thank you for your service, and may God bless America. I think right now I'm going to be followed by Erica Reddick. Erica, you were here? Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Hold on.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and a special thanks to JT Dodge for organizing us all here today. He's going to talk more. I don't want to tell his story, but so many of us with family in the military, veterans, folks who served themselves, know people who have committed suicide or succumbed to drug addiction, which to me is really just another form of suicide. And the fact that the men and women who serve this country, who defend our constitutional rights and our freedoms, that travel around the world and deal with the most horrendous, awful circumstances that we could possibly ask for a human being to live under or to deal with, they're not getting the care that they need when they return home, to return to civilian life in a way that is dignified. They're not getting the health care that they need. They're not getting the mental health that they need, the job training. And as an American citizen, I just think that that's unconscionable. We need to make sure that when our service members return home, they're automatically put on a plan where they have VA health care and access to whatever it is that they need to return home. And I think that that is a reasonable thing for them to ask of us after that they have given their lives for their country. I think that's a very simple thing that we can do. That is something that I will push for as Vermont's next Congresswoman. I will make sure that we have appropriate VA benefits. Vermont traditionally has had the highest enlistment rate per capita of any state in the nation. And what that means is we have more veterans and more families that need our support. And I'll push for that. I'll make sure we have all the funding that we need from the federal government. And moreover, my goal will be to make sure that we do not send our service members to pointless, endless wars where they will continue to live and die for nothing. In circumstances where we're not fighting for freedom, we're not fighting for things to get better. We're fighting to line the pockets of corporations that fund the war monster. And I believe that we can do better. Our service members deserve better. They deserve an administration that they can count on to make good decisions that will stand up for them and keep them safe and not risk their lives unnecessarily in unnecessary conflicts. And right now, I don't trust our administration to do that. So we need to get a new Congress this year. We need a new Senate this year, one that actually takes responsibility for the war powers, because it is the responsibility of Congress to make sure that our veterans have what they need and that we're not in endless wars. We need to take that power back from the executive branch, and I will pledge to do that as Vermont's next Congresswoman. And again, I just want to say thank you out there to all of the servicemen and women who have fought and died for us. We thank you. I want to thank my dad, both my uncles, both my grandfathers for serving, and for my family for supporting them in that service. And again, JT, thank you for being here. Thank you, veterans, for being here. Yeah, I guess I don't have a great closing. Just thank you. Thank you.
Next.
No, it's
Oh, boy.
So next we have Jaron Samus, who's a candidate for the Vermont State House of Representatives. So, Jaron?
Thank you, Gerald. All right, well, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not too tall for this, so I might have to do some minor adjustments. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today. Becky, I'm destroying all the
Sorry, no,
equipment.
no, you're good.
You're good.
You're good.
I'm first when it comes to technology, so if this thing just spontaneously bursts in flames, my fault. So, not yet, moving your topic, but this unit is dedicated to bring awareness to a very sensitive issue, and that is veteran suicide. So, my name is Jared Sampson. I'm currently Vermont State House candidate for Rutland 3. I was previously represented by policy, who was a 32-year state representative, also a Vietnam pilot. And I think this is an issue that you would appreciate being able to talk about. This is an issue coming from a military family. Both my grandfathers served in World War II. One of them was in the South Pacific. And in addition to that, my stepfather served. My stepbrother is currently in Korea right now, U.S. Air Force. So it's a very important topic to address. So the first thing I want to address at this point in time is not talking about what our government can do. We're talking about, okay, if I get elected, I can do this. It's to talk about the numbers that we're facing right now as people, just as people in the state. So right now, many people don't know this, the second highest cause of death for Vermonters under the age of 34 right now is suicide. The fourth highest cause of death, ages 35 to 54 in the state of Vermont, is suicide. The state of Vermont right now, and these numbers are coming from a new initiative, and I highly encourage folks to look them up, Facing Suicide Vermont, which is a new initiative addressing suicide in our state, is that the 988 suicide and crisis lifeline prevention program, which anyone viewing this, I would highly recommend. If you know anybody or you have any thoughts what's going on, dial 988 and contact them. 988 in the year 2021. And bear in mind, our state doesn't have reports for about 600 right now. Received 3,300 in the year 2020. In addition to that, if we're going to break down the numbers, it's estimated that from these numbers, that's from just the department visits alone to the emergency services, that's roughly 1 out of every 145.
Wow.
So there is not a single family, regardless of political policy, orientation, youth, background, walk of life, north or south in this state that is not affected by this issue. Nobody's been unscathed. I have not been unscathed. But today we're here to talk about veterans. So keep in mind all these issues, all these numbers, all these phone calls, all these families that have experienced the pain, the loss, the sorrow from this horrible affliction. State of Vermont, 1 out of 5 of these suicides are veterans. 1 out of 5. 20% of all these deaths that are happening in our state from suicide are veterans. And not even saying this as a person running for office, saying this as a private citizen who has personally seen and dealt with and has personally had to prevent suicide, this number as a whole is outstanding. As anyone would know, this can't go on. And that's why we're here today to address it. So there's a topic I'd like to focus on, and I refer to as survivorship. During World War II, there was a particular model of airplane that they had airplanes come back, but they were experiencing a high rate of loss. And they were looking at the portions of the airplane that had bullet holes and saying, oh, well, we have to strengthen these portions. But they were not looking at the portions that did not have bullet holes. Someone focused on this, and they realized at that point in time, it wasn't the spot that was taking the hits and then making it back. It was the spots that people weren't seeing that was leading to the loss. That was referred to as survivorship odds. So today I have some numbers for you that I think as a state we need to address. So one number, and this is from the Vermont Department of Health. These are Vermont numbers. These are not federal numbers. These are not state numbers. These are numbers for our state. 37% of individuals who died by suicide in our state were enrolled in that mental health treatment. So that means the remaining number of those people that died by suicide did not, or currently not, any form of mental health. In addition to that, 21% of the individuals that completed suicide in the past year, substance abuse addiction. Substance abuse addiction. So at that point in time, not only do we have the mental health aspect, we have the current great opioid crisis going on and affecting folks with post-traumatic stress disorder, folks come back from overseas, and not even including the numbers that we can't see, the numbers that I've seen, where I personally have spoken with people who have not only lost their father to suicide, then the same family within the next 10 years lost two of their cousins from suicide. And all three of those people, the father was a Vietnam veteran, and the two cousins were Iraq and Afghanistan. And those are the numbers that we don't see. The numbers that we don't see are veterans come back from overseas joking about how their friends died while drinking themselves to death. And we don't factor in those numbers because those are numbers that are not real. So how do we fix this? That's the big question. How do we fix this? Government can only do so much.
Hopefully this fixes it.
So as you can tell, I was joking about the technology thing. That happened. But how do we fix this? And that's a big question. How do we fix this? How do we fix something so economically and socially complex? And the biggest thing, we can talk to our government, we can talk to our representatives, hey, we need more funding for mental health treatment. We need more funding for awareness. We need more funding for whatever programs lead to prevention, education, and having people be able to talk about it. And that last point, people being able to talk about these things. That's why we're here, because we're talking about it. And local veterans, go to your local VFW, go to your American Legion. I've personally worked with the American Legion and helped do fundraising for them out of honor of my grandfathers, out of honor of the rest of my family members, out of honor of the friends and family that didn't make it back from overseas. But it can't be just these groups. We have to talk to our neighbors. We have to get to know everybody. And that is what Vermont used to do. But now people don't talk to each other anymore. People are isolated, and COVID made everything horrendously worse. We have these items in our pocket. They're supposed to make us more connected, but we're more divided than ever before. So I recommend the folks, don't just contact your state representatives. Don't just contact your federal representatives. And today we had an amazing gathering of folks for the walk to address suicide, just minutes before we held this press conference. The amount of people there was absolutely astounding. But it's only one step. It's only one town. So my call to action for everybody today, as a result of this press conference, talk to your neighbors, talk to those people that you see in the grocery store every day. Talk to the people that may otherwise, you may not know, served multiple tours overseas in Vietnam, or lost their best friend in Afghanistan, or are currently experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder while experiencing loneliness from not having any connections in their life. And at that moment in time, you make that connection, you may just save a life. My name is Jared Samus. Thank you all for having me here today. JT, thank you. And I'm going to pass the torch. I can't speak today. I'm going to pass the torch to JT Dodge and have him tell his stories. JT is a phenomenal man. And JT, after you. And hopefully he won't have the same technology issues. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Sure. That was really good.
Really just articulate words out there today. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Gerald. And thank you, Erica. So initially, I just want to quickly say why we are candidates and having a press conference. This is not an everyday thing to have a bunch of candidates out here having a press conference. What I want to mention, though, is that this issue is not being brought up at all. And in fact, there are, well, the VA came out and said that they felt like they were improving on suicide rates and that sort of thing. But then again, they got their data 2020 and prior, so they missed the whole COVID piece. And here they are now celebrating, not really celebrating. And I don't want to talk, they do a lot of good. So VA does a lot of good. But I think that we need to be on this issue constantly and always. Veteran suicide is a tragedy that happens, and it affects us all. So I wrote a little piece, and I'm just going to speak a little to this. Thank you for attending. This time of year, the media is very busy, so I just appreciate that you guys are here. And I know that there's a lot of folks pulling you in different directions. When we lose a veteran to suicide, there is a ripple that happens like a stone thrown into a pond. From my experience, the pain never goes away. My father served multiple tours in Vietnam and received Purple Hearts for his service. He never recovered from the grief. As children, we played war with friends. We'd find sticks that looked like guns. We'd pretend. I remember once I asked my dad what it was like, what war was like. I was single digit age. And I asked him if he killed any enemies. I thought, we played war and then we had fun. He looked at me with the saddest eyes that I've ever seen and said, "Johnny, I'll tell you when you're older." He took his life at a Veterans Administration in Northampton in a bathroom 50 feet from the nurses' station. Now the Veterans Administration does a ton of good. Okay, so 2% or less veterans die in Veteran Administration hospitals. It's not a common thing, but it does happen. I found out on Sunday, and I've never gotten over it. He was supposed to teach me how to shave and drive a car. He was supposed to know my wife and my two children, Aiden and Sadie. He would have loved my little family. He would have been an amazing grandfather, but was gone before his 30s were up. In 2021, there were 142 deaths among Vermont residents, suicide deaths, with a rate of 21 per 100,000. This is the highest number and rate of suicide deaths recorded in Vermont. That's pretty stark. Considering 2021, we hadn't completed the COVID lockdown stuff, so there was still a lot of damage being done around that time. Veterans accounted for 1 in every 5 deaths in 2021. Suicide is preventable. See, that's the thing. Suicide is preventable and help is available. Vermonters can actually save lives and encourage healthy, strong individuals, families, and communities. Know the risk factors. Recognize the warning signs and reach out to them. Help them. These facts that I just mentioned were from healthvermont.gov. Learn the warning signs, and if you or someone may be at risk of suicide, get help immediately. Individuals who die by suicide show 1 or more of the warning signs. Often through what they say or do, here are some warning signs. Talk. A person talks about feelings of hopelessness, being trapped, feeling burdened, having no reason to live. Behavior. Changes in behavior, increased drug and alcohol use, searching for suicide methods, withdrawing from people and activities, sleeping too much, aggression, mood, depressed, anxious, lose interest in doing the things that you'd normally find interest in, irritability, humiliated, ashamed, agitated, all those things. The way we talk about suicide matters. Asking someone if they are thinking about suicide will not plant the idea into their mind. Listening to someone can help save a life. For help in talking to someone about suicide, contact the National Suicide Prevention Line, 988. I think Jared mentioned it. If you press 1 after 988, it brings you to a space that's specific to veterans help. Media reporting on suicide can positively or negatively affect the community, especially after a suicide. For information on how media can approach this difficult issue, you can go to reportingonsuicide.org/recommendations. Over 100,000 studies worldwide have found that the risk of contagion is real, and responsible reporting can reduce the risk of additional suicides. Also, covering suicide as a journalist, as media, covering suicide carefully can change perceptions. It can dispel myths, and it can inform the public on the complexities of this difficult issue. Media reports can result in help seeking when they include helpful resources and messages of hope and recovery. So it's important to talk about this. It's important to report on this. And I'm speaking to my media today. It's important. And it's important not to keep the secrets, and that secrets die in the light. And I think I'm so grateful that we're all here to support veterans today. And veteran suicide is certainly one of the most important issues of our time. And I just thank you for allowing us to bring it up today. Thank you.